Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Kerbanaut, here, bringing you episode of 2 of Let's Actually Play Kerbal Space Program. So, let's talk a little bit about what you are seeing in front of your very eyes today. This is a rocket. It's a kind of modified version of the orbiter that we got into space last episode, except it doesn't have the mystery goo containers, because we don't need mystery goo containers for this mission. This mission is just to get EVA science, because there were a few biomes that we didn't manage to get EVA science on last time. So, we are flying this into the atmosphere, and you can see here the wonderful things that are happening right there. So yes, of course, we're getting this lovely EVA science, and we get above the mountains of Kerbin, sticking up above the clouds, may I say. They're very tall mountains. Surprisingly few mountains actually are sticking up above the clouds, which is slightly disturbing. And then, of course, we have the desert, and it seems to have a lot of clouds over it. I'm not sure if geography works the same way on this kind of universe. From what I remember, clouds only actually appear when cold and hot air meet, so obviously there's some kind of strange geographical air currents flowing over those deserts, which is very lovely. Okay, and now we're flying back down to Kerbin. We're coming down, and I'm aiming for the KSC, Kerbal Space Center. And it's nighttime, but thanks to Ferrum Aerospace, I can control my rocket a lot more. Also, I guess the fact that I do have a lot of fuel left in this rocket also allows me to do a big braking burn here, just to make sure. Although I accidentally overshoot a bit, but that's no bother. We still got some fuel left, so instead of just going with my fate and letting me fall short of the KSC, I burn towards it and I fall. And we still got fuel, but we're again falling short, so I burn a bit more. And we are out of fuel, so let's just ditch that stage and pop the parachute. Okay, so we got a bunch of EVA science on that short mission. Jebediah has successfully appeased his urge to fly into space at the beginning of the episode, so there we go, we get him out, just to kind of say hi to the ground before we realise that we've already got the EVA science from this biome, so we can recover the vessel. Now, let's have a look at the science. Do we have enough science to buy anything? Absolutely anything. I think we have enough science to buy that, but I don't know, because I can't see it, because the thing I'm looking at is tiny. So, I think we do. Yes, we have enough science. So now, it is time for building time-lapse. I would put in fancy music here, but I can't be bothered. Also, it's nice for me to just talk to you about what I'm building. This is a rocket. I've slapped some SRBs on the side because it always needs more boosters. Boosters are good in every sense of the word, and nothing you say will ever change my mind. Boosters will always be awesome. Okay, so I'm trying to make this look good as well as be aerodynamically kind of stable, you know, because it has to obviously get into space, but I also want it to be aerodynamically stable. So, what is this rocket for? Well, perhaps the name will reveal something. This is the Moonshine 1, and its mission is to travel to the moon and get some moon science, because everybody loves a bit of that moon science. I love my moon science. Okay, what are we doing? We're flying. What are we going to do on this mission? What's the point of this mission? Are we going to land? We don't have any landing struts. We don't have any kind of landing gear. Are you mad, Mr. Kerbanaut? No, I'm not mad. We're just going to go for a kind of lunar orbit. We're going to try and get to low lunar orbit, and then do a slight burn at low lunar orbit to get us back into a Kerbin aerobrake situation where we can just slowly come back around and, you know, burn up in Kerbin's atmosphere and die. Well, not die, sorry. I mean, you know, live happily and not burn up. So here you can see the nodes are working fine. I'm just making sure that this burn at lunar periaps is gonna bring us back to Kerbin, and it we can see it did. So I'm just hopping around to that maneuver node that's going to take us out to the moon, and here we go. We're burning for that maneuver node now. Burning away, get some beauty shots in there. It's very lovely, look at that. That's going to be the screen grab from that mission, and it will probably be the thumbnail of the video. Well, you'll know because you've seen the thumbnail. So, but I don't know because I'm in the past. I'm talking to you from the past. Ooh. So here we go. We can see we're getting nice and close to the moon because I figure I've got a lot of fuel left after this lunar injection, lunar transfer. I don't know what it is. Lunar transfer. We'll call it lunar transfer. So yeah, we've got a lot of fuel left. So I go a bit lower, hoping to get low science. So I grab some science from high Kerbin because I don't have any mystery goo science from high above Kerbin, so we get that. We're then a quick crossfade and we're into lunar orbit, so we can get some mystery goo science, a lovely little mystery goo right there, from high above moon. I feel like some kind of caveman. High above moon. No, high above the moon, I guess. That's how you say it, I suppose. So yeah, we get some science there, and we try transmitting, but it turns out I completely forgot to put an antenna on it. I then realised that we are not going to be getting any low moon science, which is a shame, because that kind of means we're lacking in the science department significantly, but you know, oh well, such is life. So I just grab what I can, board, and then we're just going to make our burn now, instead of like trying to break and come around and waste fuel doing that, because I don't think we have enough fuel. We're just going to burn and come back. So you can see us here just burning, the orbit is changing and the periaps is lowering. Ooh. So let's see what's happening here. We're going to get ourselves down to a lovely well, below 70 kilometers, obviously, because 70 kilometers is the height at which Kerbin's atmosphere starts. And that's very important to know, because if you don't hit the 70 kilometer mark, you're not going to get back to Kerbin. You're just going to float in space for a very long time, until someone comes along and says, oh, you're floating in space for a very long time, let me give you a ride back. And, you know, Kerbals don't usually do that, they just kind of, you know, sacrifice you to the Kraken and, you know, hope that it gives them science. And, you know, that's just what Kerbals do. They're heartless little guys, but they're hilarious as well. Heartless and hilarious, there you go. So, I'm thinking right here, I'm kind of putting a maneuver note down because I see that Minimus is right there. Can I get an intercept with Minimus? We've lacked the low lunar science. Can we get some science from Minimus? Turns out we can't. We're completely the wrong plane. And so I just continue on my way. Turns out I timed this rather well to land near the KSC again. I couldn't have timed this better. I'm going to say this was on purpose, but it wasn't. So what I do is I point towards the ground so that I get maximum aerodynamic kind of resistance, get some drag going there. Also so I can change my trajectory with the engine there. So what I do, so bringing it down through these lovely clouds. I'm going to say it, I love these clouds. There you go. That's the only one for this episode. I love those clouds. Okay, we can now continue with our lives. And then, of course, I pop the parachute and let it bellow open before hitting the water at extremely low speed. And I lose my engine and my thing, which is a shame. But, you know, such is life. That is a pain. But anyway, we get some science stuff there, which is very awesome. So we've just unlocked a bunch of science. We've now got the materials bay, which is going to come in very useful when gathering science when we go to low lunar orbit and when we land on the moon. So that'll give us a lot more stuff to work with. And of course, we're just going to get some structural stuff there as well. Now, it's time for another building time-lapse. Doodaloo. This time I decided that we're going to try and land on the moon, but I've not landed on the moon yet. I don't know Well, I mean, I know because obviously I played the game, but let's just go for a wee bit of role play here almost. So I don't know, or the Kerbals don't know how much Delta V it's going to take. You know, all that stuff. They are not sure, and they don't want to risk a Kerbal testing it. Usually they would, because I'm a heartless person, and I would just usually set a Kerbal. But I figure if we're doing this and we're gonna kind of go for it, then we might as well just go for it and launch a probe, make it a bit more realistic. So here we go. I move the landing gear down because I have a feeling that that last stage is not going to be enough to land and take off and get back. So I put like an extra wee, that transfer stage on the end is going to be like landing as well, or at least I think so. I hope it has enough delta V. It's a very small probe, so I'm counting on its lack of weight to kind of give me enough delta V to land and take off with this thing. So I put in a wee materials bay and I take a look at the ridiculous size of this thing. I was laughing when I was building this. This is just comedy gold. The fact that this thing is like a tube, it's landing on the moon and it's going to be a tube. It's quite funny. Anyway, of course, these boosters are bringing us up into the atmosphere, and we flick the switch to go into a high time speedy thing. Well, I mean, I've done this in post, obviously, I've sped up. We drop the boosters, and we are now preparing to burn to the right. Well, I say right, actually we're burning to the east, because right is just like whichever way you're facing it changes. But east is a constant, kind of, I guess. Yeah, east is a constant. I don't know. Anyway, here we are, we're in space, whoop-de-doo, and we've got intercept with the moon. Brilliant. So we're coming in, this is going to be the first time we're getting a low moon science. So here we are on the moon, well, at the moon, and we're doing a braking burn. So we've already got all that high moon science, so we don't have to worry about kind of going back up into orbit, into high orbit. We can just do all our science here. So what I'm doing is I'm saving everything. I'm saving it for landing, because I'm going to land. I'm going to get as much science as I can, and I'm going to bring it back. That way we're going to recover all of this science. It's going to be delicious and lovely, and the Kerbals are going to eat it for breakfast and dinner, depending on how hungry they are, of course. So here we are, we're beginning this braking burn. You can see we do not have a lot of fuel at all. And with the small engine though, with the slightly higher ISP, we can stop ourselves. We've kind of killed our orbital velocity, so theoretically this would have enough. However, it doesn't, because this isn't the perfect theoretical kind of thing. So what we do is we just use the materials bay, we get the science from it just above the moon, and we just transmit that, and then we can eject it. And we've done that. Now we're coming in for landing. This landing. I was very scared about this landing, because this was not designed to land. This was the ascent stage. And it tips over. I'm like, no, no! With all the force of that tiny SAS, or the reaction wheels inside that pod, I am like trying to pull it back up. But alas, it is not going to come back up. So I decide, you know what, we can just do some science here. We're on the moon, let's do some science. So we get that lovely little goo container and another little goo container right there. Now it's time to try and bring this thing back up into the sky. So let's give this a try. I'm rolling it over. I'm going to start rolling it over now. So here we go. We're rolling it over onto its side. Okay, there we go. Now, time to give it a try. We're going to pull up and bring the thrust up, and we're going to see what we can do here. Okay, ready, and 3, 2, 1, 0, go. No, anytime now. There we go. Oh, and because it's a downhill slope, we can just make it. Now I cut the engines here because we are pointing the wrong direction. I just wanted to get up into the air. Well, not in the air, I guess. The moon is airless. It's a complete vacuum, actually. So saying getting air on the moon is wrong, actually. It's not air. and I accidentally switch my view to the moon. Accidentally, which is annoying. I tend to do this occasionally. I just switch things from the moon to craft, and then like from the planet to the craft. It's very annoying. However, we are getting into orbit around the moon. Just burning along the horizon means we are not wasting any fuel fighting against gravity. We are using all of our fuel just to raise our periaps and make sure we go as long as possible. So there we go, set down a tiny wee maneuver node just to pop us up into a circular orbit so that we can go back around and burn towards Kerbin when needed. So here we go, hopping to that maneuver node now. And now it's just a matter of speeding up, doing it quickly and getting to that apoapse. So while we're getting to that apoapse, we can take a look at this lovely scenery while I talk about various things. So what can I talk about? I guess I could talk about what we're going to be doing kind of in the future of Let's Actually Play Kerbal Space Program, because I could continue this for ages and just go around the moon, and like that's all I could do. But that's boring. We're not just going to do that. No, we're going to do the absurd and we're going to adventure to different areas of the solar system, places where no one has been before. In fact, one of my goals, just for the sheer sake of it, is just I want to put like a base on Elu. So like, that's going to be my end goal. If I have a base on Elu, I will be happy. And it's not just going to be any base, it's going to be like my moon base. So if you've ever watched my moon base short series, it's like 3 episodes or something, and I put a very small moon base core onto the moon. It's pretty epic. You should go check it out. I'll put a link at the end of the video. I'm going to see if I can stick that on Elu, but obviously that is in the future. That's going to be when I actually have lots of stuff. As for mods, as we just bring ourselves back in towards Kerbin. As for mods, I think I am going to install Deadly Reentry. I think I am. I haven't got it installed for this episode. I might do it for next episode. I might not. We'll see. I'll let you guys decide. I asked last episode, got a wee bit of response, but I'm asking again because I need to be doubly sure that you want to see me burn up in atmospheres and such, and it's actually very scary, the fact that I could be burning up in an atmosphere. So yeah, what we do is we just we send off some of that science, one goo container, we just transmit it, because I've realised I do not have parachutes on this thing. Which is a shame, but it's true. I didn't have parachutes on this because I completely forgot about parachutes. To be honest, there's no excuse. So what I do is I'm going to have to try and soft land this. It has the fuel. It's very, very, very light, so it is capable of soft landing. I'm not doubtful of that. I'm doubtful of my ability to do so. So here we go. We're coming down to the water. We're getting it down. It's like 0, and it just. Yeah, that kind of happens, and it's gone. It's yeah, it's kind of gone, and it's bad, and yeah. So that's a pain. We just lost our mystery goo. That entire mission was a failure, except from the fact that we did transmit a bit of science just before we landed, and we transmitted that mystery goo before we sent it off back to Kerbin. So we do have some science, but the question is, do we have enough to buy this? And we do. There was like really no anticipation there. We just kind of do. So with that, we can build a new rocket. This rocket is manned, as you can see, by the lovely Mr. Jebediah sitting in the bottom left, bottom right. I don't know my left from my right, okay? I do, but I don't. Anyway, Jebediah's down there. He's enjoying every second of this launch. And this mission is to land on the moon and return with Jebediah Kerbin. He's going to be very lonely for the couple of days that he's going to be sitting, just floating around in space. So yeah, we're bringing this up. I guess while we're doing this, I could talk about something I watched recently. I watched a little thing on how the lunar, real life lunar, Apollo style re-entry was going to happen, and it was talking about re-entry corridors and all that. And I learned about how you're supposed to spin the craft to kind of almost change the direction the of the craft of the capsule. It was very awesome. I can't explain it because I don't have time. No, but we're doing all this science here. I then realised we were not going to have enough fuel to land. We probably actually did, but it's a Kerbal involved, and it's Jebediah, and if we didn't have enough, he'd either be stuck on the moon or he'd crash on the moon, and I didn't want that to happen. So yeah, I just kind of sent him back up, had a bit of fun, going straight down, heading into the atmosphere of Kerbin. And yeah, there we go. Lovely. Burning up in the atmosphere. Very quickly, actually, may I say. And we're doing this braking burn, braking, and then I realize I have parachutes. I also realize after this, what on earth is that sound? These dogs, man. Like these dogs, I'm telling you. And then realize that these parachutes have decided to deploy at their correct altitude, and doing so kind of means that my materials bay got destroyed. Again. I have a feeling this game and me are going to have a bad relationship when it comes to materials bays. I just have a feeling. Maybe materials bays. It's the relationship between Jebediah and Kerman and solar panels is going to be the relationship I have with material bays. Anyway, folks, as this lands, we gather the science and continue on our journey into the ethos, into the world of KSP. But until next episode, that's me. Bye bye. Have a nice day.